In this video, we're going to talk about the impact of news events and specifically high impact news events. So you see on TradingView, we've got these little flags down the bottom in a red circle. So this is what's called high impact news or red news, okay? And what I'm going to look at now, or what I'm going to demonstrate, is basically how it moves the markets. So let me drop down to a 1 hour chart. We'll just get rid of this MA because it's not required for this. And let me just get rid of that so we can see a little bit more clearly. So on the chart right in front of us, we can see some pretty big candles. And what I'm going to do, just to sort of highlight this point, is I'm just going to go Alt and V, and I'm just going to draw a red vertical line over each one of these flags. And what you can see now is that these lines align perfectly pretty much with the biggest candles on the chart. So all of these giant candles you're looking at were caused by news events. Now on TradingView, these are clickable, so you can click on that and it will bring up the news event that actually caused the move. And in this case, you can see it was NFP, non-farm payroll. Now, if we look at the forecast, so it was 185, but when the news actually broke, when the data was released, it was 272. So it was really far from what they forecast. So because it was essentially unexpected, the move was quite severe, okay? So if we just, let me grab a measuring tool and go from the very top of that candle to the bottom, that is nearly 87 pips. Now, 87 pips might not mean much to you, so let's put that into some context. If we go to a website called Mataf, and if you go to Forex, trading tools and Forex volatility, and obviously guys, check out some of the other stuff on this website, it's fantastic. It'll bring you to this page. Now, all I've done is I've entered a value of 50, press this button so it's refreshed all the data, and then I've filtered by GBP because obviously we're looking at pound US dollar. So what we want to look at is pound US dollar, which is here, and we can see that currently over the last 50 weeks, okay, so pretty much the last year, the pound US dollar is moving about 84 pips per day. Okay, so in an entire 24 hours, it's moving about 84 pips. And as you just saw, this is in a single hour caused by news. That is 89 pips. So it's just moved more than its entire daily ATR in a single 1 hour candle because of this news event. So that is the power of news, okay? Especially if, as it was in this case, what they expected the result to be was not the actual result, okay? If this figure had been, if the actual figure had been pretty close to the forecast, the move might not have been as severe as this. But this literally is the power of news. You can clearly see just looking at this chart that it's news that's driving everything, okay? And if you look in between these red lines, take this for example. So here we have a news event, we have a news retracement, and I'm going to come on to this in a minute, followed by just a sideways choppy market. Then you have your next news event, which kicks off your next move, news retracement, sideways choppy market, kicks off a big news event, and here we can see the market is now starting to retrace, and it just follows this same pattern. So the news events push the market, there's then usually a retracement or a correction, followed by a quiet sideways period until the next news event. So this is literally how markets move. And obviously by using websites like this, we can find out how far they move on average in terms of the daily movement. So in the case of pound US dollar, about 84 pips. But this website actually breaks it down a little bit more. So if I just draw your attention to this little section here, this is volatility in pips per hour of the day. Now this yellow one, this is the current time. As you can see, it's currently 1:15 for me. And this is the, I think there's a slight time difference, but this is showing as like the candle that opened at 12 o'clock and finishes at 1 basically. Anyway, what you can clearly see is these two candles here are sort of head and shoulders above the rest. Now these two candles are the 1 o'clock and the 3 o'clock. And if we just jump back to the chart, what you'll see is that NFP, okay, is at 1:30. That is in the 1 o'clock candle. You can actually see the timestamp here. This one is at 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 1 o'clock. So all of the events we can see on the chart are either at 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock, which aligns with these two bars on this little graph here, the 1 o'clock and the 3 o'clock. So you can clearly see that the most volatile periods of the day are caused by news events. This is literally what is moving the market. It's the news that's moving the markets every single day. So this is very important for our strategy. In our strategy, we need to use these news events to our favor, and we also need to avoid them at certain times. So we need to know when they're scheduled, how far they're likely to go, and if possible, which direction they're likely to go as well. Now, there is another little resource. So we are currently developing actually a news algorithm. Now, this is not a trading algorithm. It literally just analyzes the data from the broker, from these news events, and presents it in a way that, you know, sort of makes it very easy for you to manage stuff. Now, this is currently a prototype. It's not yet available for sale. Today is the 10th of June. I would probably expect this to be on sale by the end of June 2024, I would say, another couple of weeks. Anyway, let me just quickly show you what we can actually do. So this is on MT5, as you can see, and here we are. This is like the current candle. And if you want to see news events that are coming up, you can see that I've selected high and medium impact. I can have low as well, but they typically don't move the market very much. I've got GBP selected because this is a pound US dollar chart. Now, if I just press the draw events button, it's actually put some little flags on the chart down here, and you'll see that some of them are red, some of them are yellow. So this is high impact and medium impact. There's a little number. This one says 4. If I click on this, and it will open up this window, and now you can see the non-farm payroll from Friday. Now, obviously, there are no news events within the next couple of hours, which is why there's no lines drawn on the chart. But this basically lets you know in advance when a news event is coming, so you can plan for it, and it gives you all the information. Now, another really handy feature, and I haven't seen anywhere else that really does this, is we take all the data from the broker and we actually analyze it and visualize it for you to let you understand what the potential impact of an event is going to be. So you can see at the moment we're in the past tab. So these are the events that have already happened in the past. You can scroll across, you can see all the data from them. Then we have the future tab. So this is where it's going to show you the events that have not happened yet. These are the events that are up and coming. Today is the 10th, as I've just said. So the next news event is tomorrow. It's on the 11th, okay, at 7 p.m, which is why there's no lines drawn here, because it's not till tomorrow night. But we now can see in advance what is happening, and we can also see the impact. So here we have high and medium, and if we want to find out more about any of these events, we can look at them in detail. We can also sort events by impact on this tab. So what we've done is we've actually measured how many pips. It's actually in points, okay, so 688 points would be 68.8 pips. We've actually measured how far these typically push the market. So this is really important, especially if you're using a stop loss or if you've got a TP set. If there's a news event about to happen, you want to know how far typically that news event is going to push the market. Now, if it pushes it in your favor to your TP, fantastic. If you've got a stop loss, let's say you have a 10 pip stop and any of these news events are about to happen where it's potentially going to move the market nearly 70 pips very quickly, not a great situation to be in. So this is really, really handy. Now, if we just move over to the per event tab, this is where I've actually selected one of the previous events. So I've chose crude oil stocks. So all I literally did was, I think it was from the future events. So there you go, crude oil stocks. I just clicked on this one because it's a high impact event. And you can see down here, there are 851 bits of data. So there's data from 851 previous events. So if we look at this now, we can see all the data from the brokers in terms of what the actual result was, what the forecast was, the direction, did the market move higher or lower, and how many points. Now we can sort these columns. If I want to see the most that it's ever moved, okay, I can click on this. Sorry, that'll be the lowest. And the biggest move it's ever done is 182 pips, okay? And the lowest, there's no data on that one, is 6 pips, okay? So let's have a look at this one. And if we click on this, and then we can open up the price graph and we can actually see the move. Now this is in 1 minute candles, okay? So this is the equivalent of going on TradingView or changing your chart up here to 1 minute and seeing that event. Now you can actually do that. You can click on go to event and it will make the current chart jump back in time to whenever this was. But there's some really interesting stuff I want to sort of show you. So where you see this crosshair, this vertical line with a horizontal going through it, this here is the actual moment the data is released. And what's important is looking at what the market did after and also what the market was doing before. Now, this is only showing you one news event. You often get multiple news events at the same time or within a few minutes of each other. So it's possible that within this data here, there were other news events that aren't shown. And it could be the same could be true of this period here. But what I want to show you is something which is absolutely fascinating that happens all of the time with news events, and that is what's called a news retracement. Now here we can see this is the point the news breaks and the market pushes down, and the values that you can see on the screen right now is in pips. So that's how far it's pushed the market, and look, you get a retracement. Okay, so the market goes down, comes back up, retracement. So if you have a stop loss, what tends to happen is you get stopped out by the news event and then it goes back up to your entry, and you could have got out at break even, or if you used averaging or a grid, you would have got out in a profit. So let's just take these events one at a time. Let's just select this one. Look at this, price goes up, price comes down. So again, you would have got stopped out with a stop loss potentially, but you would have made money with averaging or with a grid. So anytime you see a news retracement, that's a trade that you probably won with my strategy. Price goes up, price comes down, another winner. Price goes down, price comes up, another winner. Price goes down, price comes up, that's another winner. I mean, look, everywhere you look, you get these news retracements, these reversals. This one pushed quite far, but a retracement of that amount was easily enough to get out. That is roughly, I would say, about 40%. Typically with the settings that I use, you can get out with about a 25 to 30% retracement. So again, that is another winner. Look at this, push, retrace, winner. You'll just see this all of the time. That retracement is probably 50% of that move down. You can see it's gone down 2 grid squares and it's gone back up 1. Look, 1, 2, back up 1, 50% retracement. That's another winner. So that's the power of having an algo like this, is you can see all of these events. Okay, you can see the constant retracements all over the place. So it's really, really handy. Now, another thing we can do, in fact, let me just open them all up and show you what's here. These are all of the events. You can select any one of them. You can see the list jumping around here, and you can see it's roughly 50-50 between bullish and bearish, and we do actually have a little summary. So out of the 850 events, you can see how many caused the market to go up, how many caused the market to go down, which way they went if the forecast was correct or incorrect. There's loads and loads of info on here. So this is another great resource, and this will be available soon. But what I'm trying to point out is that most of the time, it is the news that's going to drive the market. And when it does drive the market, there'll very often be a quick correction. So in the case of this event, it pushed it up hard and then it came immediately back down. So where stop loss traders are getting into trouble, getting stopped out, taking losses, a strategy that doesn't use one and allows the market to move as far as it needs to and then come back, strategies like that typically win most of the time. Okay, there are going to be some events where it just shoots off in one direction, in which case you need to consider managing that trade. So either cutting it, taking a loss, hedging it, just dealing with the drawdown in another way essentially. But over 90% of the time, you are going to get a relatively quick retracement and end up getting out at break even or a profit way more often than you'll take a loss. Okay, so this then is the impact of news. I hope this has been really, really clear. I want you to burn this image into your head, because it's literally every single day it is the news event that is going to kick the market off and cause that movement. Okay, and it's that movement that you need to get to your TP. Okay, so that is the impact of news on the markets.